Hello everyone, welcome to Sunday's special class. We have been discussing on Shakespeare and his works. So, problem plays or dark comedies. All's well that ends well, Measure for Measure, and Troilus and Crusader. All of these works have the themes of revenge, sexual jealousy, aging, midlife crisis, death, etc. They all resemble the satirical comedies of Ben Jonson. So, the term problem play got popularized during the 19th century. It is applied to the plays of Ibsen, Strindberg, Bernard Shaw, Galsworthy, etc. It denotes realistic plays that deals with controversial social problems. And the same term is applied to Shakespearean plays by E.S. Bose in his Shakespeare and his predecessors, which was published in 1896. And Bose referred to three dark comedies. It says Hamlet connects these to the tragedies. That is, Hamlet has elements of the problem play. The term has also been applied later to The Winter's Tale, Timon of Athens, and The Merchant of Venice. So let's see All's Well That Ends Well, which was composed during 1604. And the main source is a tale in William Painter's The Palace of Pleasure, which is a translation from Boccaccio's Decameron. So the plot is like this. Helena, the orphan daughter of a famous physician, is a ward of the Countess of Roussillon and hopelessly in love with her son, Count Bertram, who has been sent to the court of the King of France. Despite her beauty and worth, Helena has no hope of attracting Bertram since she is of low birth and he is a nobleman. However, when word comes that the king is ill, she goes to Paris and, using her father's arts, cures the illness. In return, she is given the hand of any man in the realm. She chooses Bertram. Her new husband is, appalled at the match, that means horrified. However, and shortly after their marriage, flees to France, accompanied only by a scoundrel named Parolles to fight in the army of the Duke of Florence. Helena is sent home to the Countess and receives a letter from Bertram informing her that he will never be her true spouse unless she can get his family ring from his finger and become pregnant with his child, neither of which he declares will ever come to pass. The Countess, who loves Helena and approves of the match, tries to comfort her, but the distraught young woman departs Roussillon, planning to make a religious pilgrimage. Meanwhile, in Florence, Bertram has become a general in the Duke's army. Helena comes to the city and discovers that her husband is trying to seduce the virginal daughter of a kindly widow. With the help of the daughter named Diana, she contrives to trick Bertram. He gives Diana his ring as a token of his love, and when he comes to her room at night, Helena is in the bed and they make love without him realizing that it is her. At the same time, two lords in the army expose Parolles as a coward and a villain, and he falls out of Bertram's favor. Meanwhile, false messengers have come to the camp bearing word that Helena is dead. And with the war drawing to a close, Bertram decides to return to France. Unknown to him, Helena follows, accompanied by Diana and the widow. In Roussillon, everyone is mourning Helena as dead. The king is visiting and consents to Bertram marrying the daughter of an old faithful lord named Lafeu. However, he notices a ring on Bertram's finger that formerly belonged to Helena. It was a gift from the king after she saved his life. Helena gave the ring to Diana in Florence, and she in turn gave it to her would be lover. Bertram is at a loss to explain where it came from, but just then Diana and her mother appear to explain matters, followed by Helena, who informs her husband that both his conditions have been fulfilled. Chastened, Bertram consents to be a good husband to her, and there is general rejoicing. Next, Measure for Measure. It was played at the court in December 1604, and it is taken from a tricking range of sources, Cynthios, Hecatomythi, which is the principal source for Othello also. So the plot of Measure for Measure is that the play centers around the fate of Claudio, who is arrested by Lord Angelo, the temporary leader of Vienna. Angelo is left in charge by the Duke, who pretends to leave town but instead dresses as a friar to observe the goings on in his absence. Angelo is strict, moralistic, and unwavering in his decision making. He decides that there is too much freedom in Vienna and takes it upon himself to rid the city of brothels and unlawful sexual activity. Laws against these behaviors and institutions already exist, and Angelo simply decides to enforce them more strictly. Claudio is arrested for impregnating Juliet, his lover, before they were married. Although they were engaged and their sexual intercourse was consensual, Claudio is sentenced to death in order to serve as an example to the other Viennese citizens. Isabella, Claudio's sister, is about to enter a nunnery when her brother is arrested. She is unfailingly virtuous, religious, and chaste. When she hears of her brother's arrest, she goes to Angelo to beg him for mercy. He refuses, but suggests that there might be some way to change his mind. When he proposes her, saying that he will let Claudio live if she agrees to have, love making with him, she is shocked and immediately refuses. Her brother agrees at first but then changes his mind. Isabella is left to contemplate a very important decision. Isabella is in a way let off the hook when the Duke, dresses as a friar, intervenes. He tells her that Angelo's former lover Mariana was engaged to be married to him, but he abandoned her when she lost her dowry in a shipwreck. The Duke forms a plan by which Isabella will agree to have, sex with the Angelo, but then Mariana will go in her place. The next morning, Angelo will pardon Claudio and be forced to marry Mariana according to the law. Everything goes according to the plan except that Angelo does not pardon Claudio, fearing revenge. The provost, that means the head of the cathedral, and the Duke sent him the head of a dead pirate, claiming that it belonged to Claudio, and Angelo believes that his orders were carried out. Isabella is told that her brother is dead and that she should submit a complaint to the Duke, who is due to arrive shortly, accusing Angelo of immoral acts. The Duke returns in his usual clothes, saying that he will hear all grievances immediately. Isabella tells her story and Duke pretends not to believe her. Eventually, the Duke reveals his dual identity and everyone is forced to be honest. Angelo confesses his misdeeds, Claudio is pardoned, and the Duke asks Isabella to marry him. Next, we move on to Triolus and Crusader, which was written in 1602 and printed in 1609. The major characters belong to two groups, the Trojans and the Greeks. So, under the category of Trojans, there comes Priam, king of Troy, Priam's children, Cassandra, she's a prophetess, then Hector, Troilus, Paris, Deiphobus, Helenus, and Margareton. Then Andromache, Hector's wife, Aeneas, a commander and leader, Antenor, another commander, Calchas, a Trojan priest who is taking part with the Greeks, Cressida, Calchas' daughter, Alexander, servant to Cressida, Pandarus, Cressida's uncle. Then, under the category of Greeks comes Agamemnon, king of the Greeks and the leader of the Greek invasion. Achilles, he's a prince. Ajax, prince. Then Diomedes, he's also a prince. Then Nestor, a wise and talkative prince. Ulysses, king of Ithaca. In some editions, the character is referred to as Odysseus also. Then Menelaus, he's a king of Sparta and he's also the brother to Agamemnon. Helen is a wife to Menelaus, but she's living with Paris. Then Thersites, a deformed and scrupulous low class fool. Then Patroclus is a friend of Achilles. So the plot is Troilus and Crusader is set during the later years of the Trojan War, faithfully following the plot line of the Iliad from Achilles' refusal to participate in battle to Hector's death. Essentially, two plots are followed in this play. In one, Troilus, a Trojan prince, that is son of Priam, woos Cressida, another Trojan. So they have sex, professing their undying love before Cressida is exchanged for a Trojan prisoner of war. As he attempts to visit her in the Greek camp, Troilus glimpses Diomedes flirting with his beloved Cressida and decides to avenge her treachery. While this plot gives a play its name, it accounts for only a small part of the play's runtime. The majority of the play revolves around the leaders of the Greek and Trojan forces, Agamemnon and Priam, respectively. So, Agamemnon and his cohorts attempt to get the proud Achilles to return to battle and face Hector, who sends the Greeks a letter telling them of his willingness to engage in one on one combat with a Greek soldier. Ajax is originally chosen as his combatant but makes peace with Hector before they are able to fight. Achilles is prompted to return to battle only after his friend, and according to some of the Greeks, lover Patroclus is killed by Hector before the Trojan falls. A series of skirmishes conclude the play, during which Achilles catches Hector and has the Myrmidons kill him. The conquest of Troy is left unfinished as the Trojans learn of the death of their beloved hero. So that's all for today. We have discussed about three problem plays of Shakespeare: All's Well That Ends Well, Measure for Measure, and Troilus and Crusader. The next class we will discuss on the great tragedies of Shakespeare. Thank you.